Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole and I am excited to be picking my books for the month of March. So per usual, I'm going to be playing my unicorn games. I've already pre-set up my unicorn in case I get a unicorn pick. And that's this little jar here that has in it just 2 books this month that I haven't finished that I put on TBRs so far for this year. Sorry, he's like crinkling his other papers. And I was thinking that this year that what I was going to do with my page count total that I work towards is I was going to base it off the previous month. And then I realized if I'm going to play this game monthly, I always film and put out the game right before I do my wrap up for the month. So I don't actually know what my final page count is going to be. So we're just going to go back to pulling a total of 3,000 pages worth of books to read for the month. And the other thing that is back full time is Unipiggy, which is my random prompt generator that I created that has its own little mascot. And the reason I'm bringing it back is the only reason it went away was I was using an editing software that made like the two things didn't work well together. And basically, my prompt generator would cause my editing software to crash and I couldn't film screen within screen, and it just ended up being a hot mess. I've since switched things up, and so now he can come back full time. So I have a random prompt generator, I have my deck of letter cards, I'm ready to play. Let's see what the first book is going to be. My first book is a book whose title needs to start with the letter R. Great. Now I just need to find the book prompt. And if you don't know how to play this game, you can see my February video where I go over in details, or you can just keep watching. It's pretty simple and straightforward. So, okay, a book whose title starts with the letter R, and let's see what my prompt is going to be. He's always playing games and pausing right in the middle there. Okay, oh, play the high, low, middle page count with the letter R. Okay. For book number 1, we're starting out here over on the floor. I needed a book whose title starts with the letter R, and I needed to play a little TBR game with it. This is a game that is played on Allie's channel at All I Do Is Read, or All I Do Is Read. I will list her channel and her TBR game below, so you can go and watch that if you want. And I love this little like page count game that she's come up with. Basically, you randomly draw 3 books, and then you have to put them in order from the highest page count to the lowest page count, or vice versa, and you end up having to choose the middle book to add to your TBR. So these 2 shelves right here have my books whose title starts with the letter R. These handful over here I've already read, so they won't count. I don't plan on doing any rereads. I looked, it's a total of 21 books, so I will randomly generate 3 numbers. Let me bring it closer so you can see. Number 18, number 11, and number 3. Okay, let me see what those are. 18, 11, and 3. I can remember this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh my gosh. These are definitely not the books that I picked. Well, I can tell just by looking at them that these 2 are the shorter books in theory, and this is the longest. So let me tell you the exact page count. I have The Red and the Black by Stendhal, which is sadly the one that I'd probably want to read, but it's definitely not going to be the middle book. It is about 532 pages long. I think this is going to be the middle book. Rachel Way, Anthony Trollope. Why? 391 pages long. What do you think? Do you think this is longer than 391 pages? This is Random Walk. This is published by a local author. I think she's local anyway. Anyway, she was at my local bookstore. There was an author event. And I liked the idea that she was self-publishing her own book, and the sci-fi seemed like something I would like, and it's 248 pages long. So if I put them in order from highest to lowest, or lowest to highest, sorry about the noise in the background, my son's coming in and out. Here's the order. This is the middle book, Rachel Ray, by Anthony Trollope. Yay. All right, here we are over at the couch to talk about the first book. And as I said, it's Rachel Ray by Anthony Trollope. And if I sounded a little less than enthused about this book, it's because I've started the Barsetshire Chronicles series and I'm just not enjoying his writing as much as I thought I would. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just personally, like, I'm just not interested in the stories he's telling. So maybe it's a good thing that I try a different story. This is one of his standalone novels that was out of print for quite a while. This is a Dover Classic edition. They brought it back into print at some point. I don't know if they still have it in print. I bought my copy used, and I don't know. I bought this book in all honesty because I wanted to try some of his series as well as some of his standalones. So I guess this is my chance. Hopefully you can't hear that noise. My son is making duck noises in the background, like literally blowing into a duck whistle. Is that what they're called? Anyway, crazy things are happening here in my home that hopefully you can't hear. Uh, I don't even know what I was saying, but this book would achieve my goal of trying a standalone of his and seeing if I like it. Should I have maybe started with one of his more popular? Yeah, probably, but I wasn't given any choices. Let me tell you what this book is about. Okay, as far as I know, it follows the story of a young lady, Rachel Ray, clearly. She is a lady, and there is a man named Luke Rowan, who is a gentleman who is intent on having her. And then there is also a clergy who's also not a gentleman, which wasn't the thing at the time to do. And I guess there's probably some sort of conflict. The back of the book doesn't actually go into great detail about what this story of hers is, but it's sounding a bit love triangle-like to me. And there's also, of course, all this mention of the clergy, which seems to be a popular theme for Anthony Trollope to look into and look at. I believe this is also supposed to be rather witty, so hopefully it will be. I think I mentioned when I was playing the game that this book is 391 pages long, and it's also the first book being added to my TBR. My second book needs to be a book whose title starts with the letter, no, it's upside down, X, Y, or Z. Oh, this is always a tricky one. Okay, let's see what the prompt is going to be. Hopefully it's an easy one. We'll see. Oh, medium or fast-paced? Okay, that should be easy. I don't know if it's going to be easy, but let's talk about it. I wasn't sure if I would have a book whose title starts with X, Y, or Z and was fast or medium paced, mainly because I think I now only have 3 books that fall into that category, but I was very happy to see that Year of Wonders by Geraldine Brooks is considered medium paced. And I was basing this off of the Storygraph, which is what I use as my sort of digital reading tracker type of situation. I have had this book now since 2022. I know that because I've been looking back at books that I purchased or at least added to Storygraph in 2022, and this is one of them. And I haven't read it yet. I've heard really good things. It's set in the 1600s. It's about when the plague hits a town and how the town gets closed off from outsiders and just how they kind of survive together as a community. At least that's my understanding and memory of what this is about. And I'm hoping that's the case. I've now read a couple of books set during this particular plague time in England, and so it would be nice to read another one and see how this differs from those, maybe do a little comparison, that kind of thing. It's also not that long a book. It's 308 pages, so it's always nice to have some shorter stories to add on. Now, I did own March by Geraldine Brooks, but never ended up reading that because I just couldn't get into it. I've tried starting this book before, but it was in like the dead of winter, which I'm kind of in now. But it was a much gloomier dead of winter moment when I tried it before. And the start of this book and the idea of this book seemed too gloomy then too. I'm just going to read it and just make it through and no excuses, in theory. Next, I need a book whose title starts with the letter I. Ooh, I have a lot of I's, so I should be able to match it with whatever prompt comes up. As I'm saying that, I'm feeling less and less confident, but we'll see. Okay, read a book whose title starts with the letter I and is like Dora, which has a map, a backpack, or explorers. All right. For the letter I needed a book that was like Dora. It either had a map, a backpack, or an explorer. And this book, I feel like in some ways maybe has all of the above. I ended up going with Inanna, I believe is how it's said. I'm not really sure. This is by Emily H. Wilson. Oh my gosh, Emily H. Wilson. It is book one in the Sumerians trilogy, and I'm really looking forward to this, partially because I really want to get to book two in this trilogy, which is Gilgamesh, and then I want to also reread the Epic of Gilgamesh. And this is going to start me on that journey. It does indeed have a map in the beginning. Like I said, I don't think anybody in here has like an actual backpack, but there is a map of Sumer in here. And I'm guessing that one of the people goes exploring. So it definitely counts for the pick. It's 486 pages long, and I know Britta read this and really enjoyed it, and her and I seem to have similar book tastes, so I'm hoping I enjoy this as well. I don't really have a lot of like super high expectations of this book or this series at all. I'm just looking forward to like a retelling from somewhere other than Greek or Rome, and like I said, I do want to reread the Epic of Gilgamesh, so I thought this would be fun to pair along with that, which means at some point I'm going to have to read the Epic of Gilgamesh. Didn't think about that part. Yeah, so this is the next book on my TBR. Next, I need a book whose title starts with the letter C or K. I like when I get options. All right, I have quite a few C's, not as many K's. This may be one too many options, so I hope that the prompt is something very specific that helps narrow things down. A man walks into town. Okay, okay, okay. For the letter C, I needed a book where a man walks into town, and I'm going to have to fix that prompt because it does not have to be a man. I was really basing that off of the quote from Tolstoy, where he talks about how basically every story is one of two things. It's either a stranger walks into a town or a stranger leaves town, something along those lines. I'll put the actual quote up on the screen. But anyway, I have both of those ideas of the quote in my random prompt generator. And so for this one, I just needed some book where some unknown person walks into town or a group of people, and I ended up going with The Colony, which I'm really excited about because I really like the idea of how this plays on the thought. This is about a young woman who's kind of tired and over her life, who does walk into a group of people who are living out in the wilderness kind of, and they've started their own sort of colony, and she is trying to figure out who they are, how they ended up there. Are they really just starting their own community? Has she unintentionally stumbled across a cult? So the main character of this story, as far as I know, is the stranger who wanders into the town, if you will. I am looking forward to this. I don't think I've read a lot of fiction about cults. I have read some nonfiction, but I just like the idea of a story with an outsider coming in who is struggling with maybe her own biases about who it is she's coming across. So I think that'll be really good. I do like Europa editions. They are usually solid 4-star reads for me. So it's nice to know that chances are I'm really probably going to enjoy this book. So yeah, this is the next book added to my TBR. It is 422 pages long, and I'm kind of excited to get it on here. I need a book whose title starts with the letter E. Okay, I can see the E's from here. I don't have quite as many. Let's see what the prompt is. A classic genre wheel. Okay, let me get that together and explain what it is. Then we'll spin it and then we'll find the book. I don't remember putting this prompt in here. For the letter E, I got classic genre wheel. So what I have done is I've created a spinner wheel with a handful of genres on them that would apply to classic novels. And this is based off of a book that I have that's called Genrefied Classics, where it explores the idea that classics in and of itself is not actually a genre. So I have put the broad categories of genres it has on the spinner wheel. Now, there are subcategories because not all of these are actual genres. So I'm going to first take a broad category, and then I will use a random number generator to see what the actual genre is that I have to choose from. So hopefully this will make sense, but it's going to be a few steps, but I'm here for it. So let's start out by spinning the wheel. I was really hoping for humor. But inspirational fiction. Okay, that's different. Hi, yeah. So I'm still over here. What happened was I didn't have a book whose title starts with the letter E, is a classic that is humorous. Are we shocked by that? I'm not. It's a unicorn pick. So I'm going to pull out of my unicorn one of two books that is in here. I know what they both are, the Ember Blade and the Power. They both keep going on TBRs. They both keep coming right back off. I will hopefully finish one of the two of them this month. If I don't, maybe I should just unhaul them because they definitely are two of my most frequently decided not to read them books. I don't know if that I'm going to do that, but maybe what I will do is that I will not only just put the piece of paper back in here next month, but I'll add another one with its name. At least there would be twice as many chances of reading any books that I don't finish. Anyway, I'm stalling. Here's the one that I picked. Ooh, I can already see a bit of the name on there. I'm pretty sure I know what book this is. But let me make sure you know as well. I could be wrong, actually. Oh, nope, I was right. It's the Ember Blade. Well, hey, at least it still starts with the letter E. Okay, well, I guess I'm participating in March of the Mammoths this year, which is a reading challenge where you read 800 or books over 800 pages long, and that would count for the Ember Blade. This is 804 pages long, and it's been on and off and on and off and on and on and on and off and off and off, a lot of TBRs for me. This is one of the oldest books on my shelf. I've owned it since at least 2022, and I still haven't read it. I've talked about it a lot recently because I keep saying I'm going to read it. Maybe it'll happen this month. I make no promises. I'm not even going to bother talking about it again. You can go back and watch pretty much any TBR I've done recently, and I'll have mentioned that book. Next, I need a book whose title starts with the letter C or K again. Okay, random. There's lots of them. Let's see what I get this time. Rhymes with the last book I picked? Oh boy. So here we are back over here. Did you predict this, that I wouldn't have a book whose title starts with C or K that rhymes with the Ember Blade? What would I have needed? Conclave? Ember Blade? What sort of aid would that have been? I don't know. If you can think of a book whose title that would work with, let me know. Leave it in the comments. Share. I don't own that book, but it would be interesting to know. Regardless, we're over here because it's another unicorn pick. Look who's back with only one thing in there. So I know what this is, but maybe it'll be a surprise to you. Unless I told you in the clip before what the two books were. Did I? I don't remember. The Power. Okay, yeah, my second book that I just keep not reading. I guess it's telling me to read these two books. Okay, The Power. 2 for 2 of past TBR books that I just am not reading that I am interested in. In fact, I'm really interested in this one. I've talked about this one a lot as well. It's 382 pages long, and it's basically speculative fiction in which sort of gender roles are reversed because who has the power and whose hands hold all the power, literally in some ways, changes place. So women now hold all the power in the world, women and girls, and it supposedly explores how that changes dynamics and roles and that kind of thing. And I'm looking forward to it. I say that and then I don't read it. So I guess we'll find out how much I'm really interested in reading that book. I need a book whose title starts with the letter L. Okay. Let me just spin or press unit picky. Translated from German. Nice. Thanks, Amelia. I might not be thanking you in a second when I try to find the book, but for now, thanks for suggesting this. And if you want to have one of your book prompt suggestions potentially show up in the game, just leave a prompt in the comments below, and who knows, I may have to pick a book using it. I'm open to all sorts of prompts. For the letter L, I needed a book that was translated from German. This was a prompt that was suggested by one of my viewers who is in Germany, and I thought that was hilarious. And I wasn't sure if I would have a book, but to my surprise, I did, and I should have known which one it was. It is The Life and Opinions of Tomcat Murr by E.T.A. Hoffman, and it is indeed translated into English from German. And this is a book that I added onto my TBR as something I wanted to purchase and one day read ages ago. And then only finally in the last year actually found an edition of it. And I'm really excited. I read The Nutcracker and the Mouse King by E.T.A. Hoffman this December. And in that book, it mentions Tomcat Murr, which made me even more excited to read this book and find out more about his life. Now, what is this book about? This book is about a tomcat who I believe decides to write his own autobiography. However, when he sends it to the publisher, it gets mixed up with the thoughts and writings of a guy who is a composer, and the publisher is then spending his time reading these two works, trying to figure out which papers belong to Tomcat and which papers belong to the composer, and apparently it's not as easy to figure out as you would think. I did enjoy E.T.A. Hoffman's writing in The Nutcracker and the Mouse King. His writing is very whimsical. He was trying to sort of break out of the mold of what a fairy tale was at the time he wrote this. And I'm really, or at the time that he wrote The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, rather. So I'm really hoping to get more of that whimsical fantasy side, especially the side of it that you got at the end of The Nutcracker and the Mouse King. We'll see if that happens in this book. This book is 321 pages long, and I'm super excited to add it to my TBR, so thank you for that prompt. I need a book whose title starts with the letter G. Okay. I speeded up for you guys, but I definitely saw it pause on lowest rated. I will definitely take a sibling relationship over that. Guess who's back over here because they don't have a book whose title starts with the letter G and is about sibling relationships, or even has siblings in it, oddly enough. At least not that's obvious, which means it's not a main part of the story. So it would be another unicorn pick, but the unicorn's now empty. But don't worry, I came up with the solution to that, which is the basket of evil that the little unicorn lives in, which is full of a whole bunch of books, some of which I might not even own now, so this might take a second, but I'm determined to pick a book out of here. So I'm just going to keep digging until I finally find one. At one point, the colors in here meant something, like the hot pink definitely meant they were the longest, the green meant they were the shortest, and then I just kept adding things, and who knows what any of them mean now. Okay, I got yellow, so who knows what this is. Who knows if I even still own this book. Now, last year, if I didn't own the book, I let it be a pass. Should I do that again this year and like get myself out of jail free? Let's decide before I open it. No. This says, oh, Lodore. I'm glad I decided. Well, I guess it wouldn't have mattered. I would have had to read it anyway. Let me get the book. And at 440 pages long, Lodore will be the last book added on to my TBR. This is I feel like a lesser known book by Mary Shelley, at least lesser known in the popular imagination. I feel like if you say Mary Shelley and people know that she's an author and wrote fiction and novels, most people will say Frankenstein and maybe think that's the only book she wrote. It's not. And I'm really thankful that Union Square, this publisher, is bringing well-known authors, but their lesser-known works back into print. Hopefully it's a good book. If nothing else, it's a pretty book. I love this cover. I know this drives some people crazy because they feel like classics should only look like this, where they're in black and white and have a painting on them, and they hate the idea that some classics are being made to look more like contemporary reads. I will admit it can make them harder to find on the shelves, but know that Union Square, this label here, is putting out classics. So at least if you see that publisher symbol, you know that it's probably a classic that you're picking up. They also call them rediscovered classics, if you can see that, and none of this is sponsored. This is just my own like sleuth work on the bookshelves that I've noticed in stores. So Lodore, what is this about? I hauled this a while ago, so I definitely don't remember anymore. So I'm just going to read to you on the back here what it says. Apparently this was also published under the title The Beautiful Widow. I haven't heard either. And it describes it as her penultimate novel that explores the web of relationships between three women bound together by the exacting Lord Lodore. Cornelia, his estranged wife, ruled by her mother and the norms of aristocratic society. Ethel, his daughter, raised in the wilderness of Illinois and utterly dependent on her father. And finally, the independent and highly educated Fanny Durham, the daughter of Lodore's childhood friend. And we're just going to end it there. That sounds very intriguing. I'm really interested to see how the friend becomes entangled in this mother and daughter-in-law, is it? Just mother and daughter relationship. And yeah, it should be interesting. And I'm also really curious, like, why are there guns on this very flowery picture of a cover? I don't know, but I will definitely be finding out. So that's the last book added on. Let me show you my entire stack. And again, I'm sorry if you can hear the duck. And if you can't, I swear there's duck sounds in the background. It sounds like a miserable duck, but there are definitely duck sounds going on. Okay, here we go. This is the entire stack of books that I have for the month of March. I was about to say May, and that is not anywhere close to where we are or where I am. And yeah, I have that big chunky book, the Ember Blade, which will be my form of participating in March of the Mammoths, which I feel like is adding on to the pressure that I need to read that book. But we're going to see if that happens and how many of these happen, because they're not all I'm reading in the month of March. If you watch my February wrap-up video, I will be including in there all the books that I have to read in March because they're for like buddy reads or book clubs or that kind of thing that are scheduled in March. And there's quite a few. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. Right now, my unicorn jar is empty. I have the feeling by the end of March, it won't be. But yeah, like and subscribe if you want to see how that goes. And that's it for me. Let me know if you're participating in March of the Mammoths or what you plan on reading in March, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.